Welcome to another rendition of Math is Easy Step by Step. So in this part 3 of the test question, percent word problem test question, I'd like to go over and answering this question step by step. And also in part 4, which will be the next video I'm going to create concerning this particular test question, I'd like to show you how there's a second method you could use other than using the cross product formula, which I've just shown you in the previous 2 videos. So let's go ahead and just get started. Thank you for joining me. If 20% of the 35,000 garlic cloves are crushed and 5% of the remaining cloves are lost during transport, how many of the original 35,000 cloves remain ready for sale? So you have option A, B, C, and D. I've gone over in part 1 video. What you want to ask yourself, and if you have to read through the question again, read through this question. If you want to draw a picture, draw a picture. Anytime you have a word problem and you're struggling, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay. One of the things I want you to consider, is this a mark up or a mark down percentage problem? Well, let's take a look. 20% of 35,000 garlic cloves are crushed, right? That means they're not able to sell those crushed garlic cloves. Okay, so that means I'm going to take 20% off of 35,000 garlic cloves. And I'm also going to take 5% off of the 35,000 remaining garlic cloves, right? So I got to take 5% of whatever that discount was, subtracted 20% off whatever that value is when I subtract from 35,000. I got to take 5% off of that number. All right, we'll get into that and I'll show you here in a moment. But you got to really be able to kind of think and navigate and prepare how to answer these type of questions, right? And again, how many clothes are lost during total transportation? We're looking at 20% of 35,000 and then another 5% of whatever was remaining garlic cloves that were not crushed. So you got to kind of navigate through this and pick a strategy that you'd like to use. So hey, let's just get right on into it. Is of equals percent. If you watched my first part 1 and 2, I talk about setting up a formula using cross product. So as we look up in the problem, if you can remember, I guess I'll try to bring that down. I don't like to have any confusion whatsoever, so I'll bring this down a little bit so we can kind of read the question again. I'm looking for an is or of statement where I could substitute a value here, okay? I've been given the 2 different percentages, so I have a good idea of what that is. So if you read the question above, there is an of statement, right? Of 35,000. And that is associated with 20%. So I'm going to use my formula, and I'm going to fill in those values, and I'm going to find 20% of 35,000. So again, here's my formula, is over of equals percent over 100. The of in the question was 35,000, so I'm going to substitute 35,000 where the of is. The percent was 20% of 35,000, so where you see the percentage in the formula, I'm going to put that 20% up here, and that's always, the percent is always over 100. So the is what I'm looking for. I don't know what the is. That's going to be my variable, x, y, z, whatever symbol you'd like to use for that real number. Now remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of that x. There's an invisible 1. Once you have your formula set up, you're going to do your cross product. Please review my part 1 and part 2 videos if this is unfamiliar to you. And I'm going to show you down below how that looks. 1x times 100, 1x times 100 equals 20 times 35,000. So 20 times 35,000. And so I'm going to show you these values here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I jumped the gun. Excuse me. 1 times 100 is 100x equals 20 times 35,000 is 700,000. So how do I get that x by itself? Remember, x is a real number. 100 times what number? What real number would give me 700,000, right? Well, I'm going to perform the opposite. I'm going to pretend I don't know. Perform the opposite of multiplication. I'm going to divide 100 to both sides. That eliminates that 100, getting x all by itself. Remember, that's what I'm trying to do, get x all by itself. Excuse me. Let me straighten this up a little bit here. And so you can see 100 over 100 is 1x. That's that invisible 1x equals 700,000 divided by 100 is 7,000. So some students would just stop here and say, oh, my answer is 7,000, I'm done. No, we're not done yet. We need to keep on keeping on here. This is only the markdown. What is 20% of 35,000? It's 7,000 is 20%. So remember, 7,000 of those garlic cloves are crushed. They're no good. I'm going to have to subtract that from the 35,000. That's my markdown. And I'm showing you that here in this step. So 35,000 minus the 7,000 gives me 28,000 good garlic cloves. Say that 5 times fast, right? Good garlic cloves remaining to sell, right? So if you remember in the question, you can rewind it and review and check it out. 20% of the 35,000, that's 7,000 are no good. They're crushed. So I have to subtract that. That's a markdown. That leaves me 28,000. And in the question, it's asking 5% of the remaining, so this 28,000 is the remaining garlic cloves. 5% of this amount here was lost during transit. So now we got to find out what 5% of 28,000 is. And that is what we're going to do here in this next portion. I'm going to try to get started. I may have to start a new video. But again, what is 5% of the remaining 28,000? So we know how to mark down that 5% that got lost in transit. Remember, 5% got lost in transit. So now we got to find 5% of the remaining good cloves, 28,000. Is over of equals percent over 100. Well, my percent is 5, so I'm going to substitute 5 where I see that percent. The percent is always over 100. Do I have an is in this statement? No, but I do have an of 28,000. So where I see the of, I'm going to put 28,000. Right here, I'm going to perform my cross product. I'm going to multiply 1 times 100, 5 times 28,000. And you can see here, I'm setting that up with an equal sign separating both of those cross products. 1 times 100 is 100x. 5 times 28,000 is 140,000. I want to get x by itself, so I do the opposite of multiplying by 100. I'm going to divide 100 to both sides, as you see here. 100 over 100 leaves me 1x. 140,000 divided by 100 leaves me 1,400. So don't get tricked again. This is 5% of 28,000. So 5% of 28,000 are 1,400 garlic cloves that were lost in translation. Excuse me, lost in transit. I messed that up. So that's a markdown, right? So we want to subtract 1,400 from that 28,000. That's going to give us the total amount that we are able to sell at market once that truck gets to market. So again, 28,000 remaining garlic cloves. 5% of 28,000 is 1,400. We're going to subtract that because remember, those are the garlic cloves that got bounced out of that truck. Some of you drive down the freeway, maybe you've seen that before. Okay. And so what's remaining for market? We got 26,600. The answer for this particular question was A. Now I'm going to show you a second method to answering this particular question. Math is easy. Take it step by step. Thank you for joining me.